For the first time ever in International League of Legends history, a North American player is going to be an import in a major region. And we're not just talking like consolidated down PCS major region. No. Jojopyun is going to the LEC to play for Mad Lions per Sheep Esports, LEC Wooloo, that whole crew. And while I touched on this news briefly in the pit like a week and a half ago, I do want to dedicate its own video to it because this is a monumental moment for North America, and I want to break down the entire situation and what it could mean from all different aspects. Let's start with the baseline though. Yes, North America is losing one of its best mid laners, its youngest mid laners that we have, despite having a bad season on C9, despite the issues that we will get into in a minute. Jojopyun is still an incredible talent. To have him go elsewhere does dampen the mid lane pool that we have here. But honestly, I think it's a really good precedent for him to set because now you have players that can come up in the North American system and if they're young enough, be willing to take a chance at playing overseas. By all means, like it costs money to get over there. You're upending your life and doing a lot of things there, but like these are the same conversations that we've been having about LCK and LEC players coming over to North America for years now, but like we never once reciprocated and went over there. We've had players that are talented enough to go over and do it. I mean, Doublelift had a chance that he probably could have went and played maybe in the LCK, definitely in the LEC for a little while there, but chose not to and chose to stay in the LCS. But for Jojopyun, yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, think about it. He's 20 years old. He's going to be able to go over to Europe, legally drink for the first time in his life, and it basically acts as a full year-long semester abroad. If he wants to come back afterwards and like doesn't like it over in Europe, then I'm sure he can because contracts in esports are pretty much meaningless. I'm not sure how long he's going to be signed for, but why wouldn't you? I mean, I'm a big proponent of doing all that type of stuff in college. Like if you get a chance to study overseas, absolutely do it. So for him, the chance to go play League of Legends at the LEC, where I would argue probably a little bit better than the LCS in terms of like the ecosystem itself. Solo queue for sure 20 times better. Viewership is insanely high, let alone the fact that he's playing for probably the most watched team besides K-Corp. Like the Abai and Spanish fans at Mad Lions are just nuts. But this is an amazing opportunity for him. But it does come right after one of the most tumultuous times in his career, and it left a lot of people asking the question, well, okay, of all the teams that were considering him, which is apparently Fnatic, Mad Lions, but notably from the North American scene, only Shopify Rebellion. How did we lose this? How did we screw up so bad to the point where we lost Jojopyun over to Europe? And I think that's a terrible way to look at it personally. Revisit the situation of what had just happened here. Okay, Jojopyun had missed apparently 42 different scrims or meetings that he was late to and caused the highest contract in the LCS to be fired and extinguished just like that. See, and I'm not even trying to shop him around, not even trying to get a buyout or like renegotiate a lower contract. No, they just straight up fired him. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, this is terrible org management. And to a certain extent, I agree. This does not abolish C9 of their management issues and the fact that it took so long to do this. The fact that they paid Jojopyun so much to the point where they didn't have enough money to bring in additional coaches and infrastructure to help this team work around him. Yes, that was a problem. It's not a problem on Jojopyun's side. Obviously, his agent's going to push for the highest amount possible. And if Cloud9 comes to you and says, hey, we'll do $750K, he's just going to look at me and be like, yeah, we'll take the $750K. Am I dumb? No, I'm not. But for C9, yeah, you were dumb for paying out that much. What's not dumb from C9 is firing him and swapping him out after the issues that happened this year, regardless of whether you have mismanagement issues and whether C9 needs to fix their problems or not. Nobody in their right mind is going to look at you weird whenever you say, yeah, I let go of a player that couldn't show up to the most basic stuff on time and just didn't give a crap and ran it down in scrims. So I don't understand that aspect of going at Cloud9, but because of that, Jojopyun entered this negotiation without any burdens, any restrictions. Now, his salary number has not come out. Somehow that part has not been leaked despite everything else that people were talking about. And I really want to know. Before I get to the salary number, let's look at the other teams in the LCS and the mid laners that they have. Team Liquid has APA, who you could argue is not playing the best right now and might have his own issues, but it seems like Team Liquid is committed to making him work long term. Again, you can't take contract signings despite the fact that they recently signed him through to like 2026, I think it was. You can't take that as an indication that they're just gonna like get rid of him after this year. It seems like that brand is really gonna stick through to that, and I'm really happy that they do. So that spot's not open. You look at the other team that went the Worlds in FlyQuest with Quad. Quad's performing incredibly well. There's a chance that maybe he wants to go to LCK or elsewhere after like a really good split. Maybe That could have opened up a potential path for an inspired Jojopyun reunion. But at the time of recording this, FlyQuest was still in Worlds, and it seems like if they were involved in that conversation, people are holding back information to like make sure that like it doesn't like damn Quad during the middle of this event and like say that FlyQuest was trying to get rid of him, which I'm curious to see afterwards. Like whenever FlyQuest is done and the offseason officially like begins, does news come out that FlyQuest was pursuing this? Because it feels like a Papa Smithy and like FlyQuest move to do that. Even if Papa Smithy did publicly say that he would not like to replace Quad and like he's their guy, like I still feel like you would entertain the conversation just in case Quad did want to leave, and I'm curious to see if that happened or not, or if FlyQuest really did just stick to their guns the entire time. 100 Thieves, Quid, young prodigy player, clearly likes NA, is on contract still. No, you're not going to change out Quid. Now we're dipping further, because don't forget, we lost 2 teams. NRG and Immortals are no longer options. Not that I think Jojopyun was ever going to go to either of those 2, even if they were around. You now have 3 more options. You have Shopify Rebellion, you have Dignitas, and then you have the guest team slot, of which we still don't know who's going to be in the guest team slot. Dignitas, their name was not mentioned in this conversation at all. I doubt Jojopyun would probably want to go to Dig, given how everything went down this past offseason. It seems like Dig really needs some management changes because they will flip players on you in a heartbeat. And Shopify Rebellion is trying to build something, so they were in the conversation. That's nice. But obviously he's not going to go to C9. They just fired him. So that's really all the options you have left. It makes sense for Europe to be the ones that are pursuing him a little bit more. And circling back to the salary conversation, he was reportedly making over $750,000, whether that was all guaranteed money, whether that was conditional of like, say $200,000 up front and say you make Worlds, etc. and beyond that, like incentive-based compensation that would jack it up even further, but you have to earn it throughout the year. We have no clue. But as Shopify or Dignitas or this guest team slot, if the salary is being bumped up by Europe because they're interested in taking an asset and giving him a try despite the issues that he's had going on here, are you really willing to pay that much and run the risk of him possibly doing the same thing here? There's no guarantee that Jojopyun goes over there and just magically fixes the issues that he had this year. Those could have been brought on by C9, but they could be personal to Jojopyun, and we will find out very clearly this year. Abai doesn't hold shit back. He tells exactly how it is on stream and will give behind the scenes details. So I'd imagine like if there's problems with Jojopyun, we will find out relatively quick. But I really want to know what Mad Lions ended up paying for him. Because this was an open market situation, the salary between those 4 teams that were involved in the discussion could drive it as high as it possibly could. But with the LoL esports ecosystem restructuring going into the next year, where we aren't sure what stipend teams are going to be working with, we don't know what that global revenue pool looks like. I'm curious to see if Riot actually ends up releasing that information so we can kind of get an idea, because we know that teams were getting a stipend of about $2 million, maybe less this year, and that it's expected to drop even further going into 2025 as salaries continue to come back down to a more realistic level to where we are at as an industry, which is a good thing. But for players like Jojopyun, who are chasing the highest contract possible as the stars of their leagues, their franchises, I doubt he got 500K or 750K. If his salary number is anywhere above like 250, 300,000, maybe 4, I'd be mind blown. Absolutely mind blown that somebody's willing to spend that kind of money in this environment right now whenever everybody's just trying to get back to profitability or at least make things sustainable in some way, shape, or form. And it's part of the reason why I could see why Shopify dropped out of this and why if Jojopyun wanted like the highest amount of money possible, he probably did end up in Europe, because Shopify is going to look at this and be like, we're in our 2nd year here in the league. We don't want to bankrupt ourselves. Like, we don't want to go down the path that everybody else did where we overpay and then we run this really high risk of him still having these issues. And then all of a sudden we're hung out to dry. We're operating in the red pretty significantly and we're digging out of a hole. So then years from now, they're still recovering from that and have like middling rosters. So I get it. I get why they would drop out. And I don't understand why a lot of people would be mad at Shopify for not like pursuing this hire. It's like they're still a business and have to make smart business decisions. Ultimately, though, I'm proud that we finally have a North American player going overseas. Look, it's not something that we see all that often here in the States, even in traditional sports. I mean, the one player from my hometown, actually, or like just outside of my hometown of Hershey, Pennsylvania, Christian Pulisic, who's one of the better soccer players that we've ever sent from the United States over to Europe, he's now America's hero. But regardless, it is cool to see an American player go over there and try and test it out. Honestly, I am very excited for the LEC this upcoming year. I know people were really down on the 3-split system from this past year. I think Riot has hopefully learned their lesson. They need to switch things up. I hope they take a playbook from what the LCS is doing and have like a lock-in tournament, a different spring format, a different summer format, and then call it like majors versus the LEC title is only like the summer thing. We need to do a much better job of weighting the splits here, but the LEC's got storylines going into next year. G2 replacing Yike and Mickey X with Skuden. I don't know his full name yet. And Lebrov. Mad Lions bringing over the American boy who could become a instant success with the Spanish fans who have been pleading with him to come join their team. There's a lot of positive things for the LEC this year, and honestly, I'm excited to watch it. That said, if you don't know who I support in the LEC, it's actually probably K-Corp. I love what they're doing for their brand, and French fans, like, despite like having the issues on the toxic side, I really like what they have, and I can't wait to see Kalist play in the LEC. But now I have to watch every Mad Lions game as well. Not that they needed my extra viewership, they're already the highest in the league, and it's probably only going to grow further.